My name is Clara Vance. For the past 6 months, I've been a night cleaner at Elysian Glow Aesthetics, a luxury clinic promising eternally youthful results. They say beauty is only skin deep. Here, it's a bottomless well, and it drinks from you. Most people don't see the clinic after midnight, but that's when the real work begins. That's when the faces in the mirrors, they start to change. There are 6 rules I learned not from any manual, but from the trembling whispers of the other night staff. Rules about what to clean, what to ignore, and most importantly, never look in the mirror after midnight. Your reflection will not be yours, because the pursuit of beauty here demands an unspeakable transformation, one where your very image becomes a trap. I used to be a painter, not a great one, but I loved the feel of the brush on canvas, the way colors could capture light, emotion, life. I loved faces, the unique flaws, the lines of laughter or worry, the stories etched around eyes. But then came the tremors, a degenerative nerve condition that stole the steady hand from my brush, replaced it with a frustrating, uncontrollable shake. My art, my passion, my identity, it faded, replaced by medical bills, the sterile scent of clinics, and the dull ache of lost purpose. I needed a job, any job, to pay for treatments, to keep a roof over my head. My art, ironically, had left me with a broken reflection of myself. That's how I found Elysian Glow Aesthetics. It promised flexible hours, a surprisingly high hourly wage for night cleaning, and a discreet environment. A place where my shaking hands wouldn't be noticed, where I could be invisible. Elysian Glow was a temple to vanity. Polished chrome, pristine white leather, soft, flattering lighting that smoothed away every wrinkle. On the surface, it hummed with the quiet confidence of wealth and superficial perfection. Walls lined with mirrors, mirrors everywhere. Full length, magnifying, backlit, circular, oval, all reflecting an endless, flawless vista. Its slogan, embossed on every glossy brochure, was "Reflect your true self, ageless, perfect." My first night, the head of the night crew, an unnervingly smooth-skinned woman named Mrs. Albright, whose eyes seemed perpetually fixed on her own impeccable reflection, gave me a brief tour. Her face was a mask of flawless youth, utterly devoid of any natural lines, like a beautifully crafted doll. She moved with a stiff, almost robotic grace. "Here at Elysian Glow," she droned, her voice soft, devoid of inflection, "we understand the importance of image, not just for our clients, but for our staff. Maintain the pristine, maintain the flawless, and never question the process." She handed me a printed sheet, not a job description, a list of 6 rules, rules that weren't for cleaning, rules for surviving the night shift at Elysian Glow. I folded it, feeling a prickle of unease. The air in the clinic, while smelling of expensive lotions and antiseptics, also carried a faint, almost imperceptible undertone of something else, something cold, something hungry. I tacked the rules to the inside of my locker, a grim reminder. At first, they seemed like eccentric demands designed to protect expensive equipment or uphold the clinic's ultra-luxury image. But as the weeks turned into months and the night shift deepened its hold, their true, chilling meaning began to emerge. Here are the 6 rules as they were given to me, each a piece of a horrifying puzzle. Rule number 1, all mirrors must be polished to an absolute unblemished sheen before 6 a.m. Any smudge, any imperfection must be removed. Your reflection is a standard, implicit purpose. This isn't just about cleanliness. It's about preparing the mirrors for something else, ensuring their receptive quality. Rule number 2, after midnight, never enter the deep renewal chambers alone. If you must, always ensure a colleague remains at the door, facing away from the chamber opening. Implicit purpose. The chambers house something that distorts perception and potentially extracts elements from reflections, requiring a tether to reality. Rule number 3. If a client's personal item is found after hours, particularly a photograph or a hand mirror, do not touch it. Place an out-of-service sign on the item and report it immediately. Implicit purpose. These items carry a direct link to a client's personal image and identity, which might be vulnerable or compromised. Rule number 4. Always maintain a neutral expression when passing any mirror after midnight. Your emotions are contagious, and a mirror can reflect more than just your face. Implicit purpose. Your emotional state can influence the reflections, making them more susceptible to external or internal influences. Rule number 5. Should you notice any blemishes or imperfections appear on a mirror's surface after midnight, e.g., age spots, scars, wrinkles, a fading image, do not attempt to clean them. Report it as a reflection degradation event. Implicit purpose. These aren't flaws in the glass. They are visual manifestations of what the clinic does, or what is happening to the client's original image. Rule number 6. Never, under any circumstances, look directly into your own reflection in any mirror in the clinic between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. Your reflection will not be yours. It will be the price. Implicit purpose. This is the critical hour of transfer or transformation, when the mirror fully displays the consequences of the clinic's work. I dismiss them as overly dramatic security protocols designed to spook the night staff. But my skepticism, like a faint smudge on a pristine mirror, was about to be buffed away. My night shift began at 10 p.m. For the first few hours, it was just routine cleaning, wiping down surfaces, emptying bins, restocking towels. The clinic, gleaming under the soft, diffused lighting, felt almost peaceful. But as midnight approached, a subtle tension would build. The silence would deepen, becoming less peaceful and more expectant. Rule number 4. Always maintain a neutral expression when passing any mirror after midnight. Your emotions are contagious, and a mirror can reflect more than just your face. I learned this the hard way. One night, around 1 a.m., I was feeling particularly frustrated. My tremors had been bad all day, my hands shaking so much I dropped a valuable cleaning solution. The worry about my treatments, about money, weighed heavily on me. As I walked past a full-length mirror in the main reception area, my face was a mask of anxiety and self-pity. In the mirror, my reflection stared back, but for a fleeting second, it wasn't just my face. The lines of worry around my eyes deepened, becoming exaggerated, almost grotesque. My mouth twisted into a snarl of pure self-loathing. The tremors in my reflected hands were violent, uncontrolled, almost demonic. It was a caricature of my worst fears, magnified, amplified. It was me, but filtered through a lens of pure despair. My reflection looked angry. I gasped, stumbling back. The reflection snapped back to normal. Just my tired face, a faint smudge of worry around my eyes. But the image of that distorted, furious visage was seared into my mind. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the clinic's perfectly controlled temperature. The mirrors here weren't just showing what was, they were showing what could be, or what it wanted me to be. I polished that mirror with extra fervor, trying to erase the terrifying image. But the memory lingered. Then came the other staff members. The night crew was small, just Mrs. Albright, 2 other cleaners, and me. One of them was a young man named Ben Carter, barely out of high school, working 2 jobs to support his younger sister. He was always cracking jokes, trying to lighten the mood. But after midnight, he'd go silent, his eyes darting nervously toward the mirrors. One night, he found a hand mirror in a consultation room. It was a beautiful antique silver piece, intricately carved. It lay forgotten on a pristine white table. Rule number 3. If a client's personal item is found after hours, particularly a photograph or a hand mirror, do not touch it. Place an out-of-service sign on the item and report it immediately. Ben, naturally curious, picked it up. "Look at this, Clara," he said, holding it up. "Must be worth a fortune. Think the client forgot it?" He looked into its polished surface. His eyes widened. A flicker of something, fear, confusion, crossed his face. He quickly put it down, his usual cheerful demeanor replaced by a pale, strained expression. He didn't say anything, but for the rest of his shift, he avoided eye contact, his hands trembling slightly. He never joked again after midnight. The clinic, especially after midnight, began to feel less like a luxury spa and more like a carefully maintained illusion. The air, already sterile, seemed to thin, becoming harder to breathe. Rule number 5. Should you notice any blemishes or imperfections appear on a mirror's surface after midnight, e.g. age spots, scars, wrinkles, a fading image, do not attempt to clean them. Report it as a reflection degradation event. I started seeing them, faint, almost invisible at first, small brown age spots appearing on a perfectly polished mirror, a network of fine lines like spider webs spreading from the corner of a reflection. Then, more disturbingly, a mirror in a treatment room developed a thin, angry red scar, crossing the reflected image of the pristine wall. But the actual wall was flawless. The blemishes were only in the reflection. I reported them as per the rules. Mrs. Albright would come, her face perfectly neutral, and place an out-of-service sign over the affected mirror. She never cleaned them. She just covered them, and the next morning, the sign would be gone. The mirror would be pristine again, but the memory of the reflected blemish lingered. It was as if the mirrors were absorbing these imperfections, not reflecting them away. One night, I saw Ben staring intently at his own reflection in a small wall mirror in the break room. His face was pale, drawn. "It's fading, Clara," he whispered, his voice trembling. "My reflection. It's getting transparent. I can almost see through it." I looked. His reflection was indeed subtly different, a faint, ethereal quality as if he wasn't quite solid. His eyes in the mirror held a haunted, distant look that wasn't present in his actual face. It was as if his image was slowly detaching from him. "You need to report that, Ben," I said, my voice tight. He shook his head. "No, I can't. If they know, I don't know what they'll do." He looked at me with desperate eyes. "That hand mirror, Clara, the one I touched, when I looked in it, I saw an old man, an old, withered version of me, and then my real reflection started to fade. He had broken Rule 3. He had touched a client's item, and now his own image was paying the price. The most unsettling part of the clinic was the deep renewal wing. These were 5 small, heavily soundproof chambers, their doors made of thick, polished steel, usually kept locked. Clients would spend hours, sometimes entire days, in these chambers, emerging looking astonishingly refreshed, years younger. They were the clinic's crown jewel, its most exclusive and mysterious treatment. Rule number 2: after midnight, never enter the deep renewal chambers alone. If you must, always ensure a colleague remains at the door, facing away from the chamber opening. We rarely had to clean these chambers. Mrs. Albright, or a specialized day technician, handled them. But one night, an urgent message came through from Mrs. Albright's tablet. Chamber 3 needed a light polish after a late client's departure. Ben and I were the only ones available. We stood before Chamber 3. The air around it felt strangely cold, almost static. "Remember the rule, Ben," I whispered. "You stay here, facing the wall. I'll be quick." He nodded, his face pale, turning his back to the door. I took a deep breath and pushed the heavy steel door open. Inside, the chamber was circular, bathed in a soft, pulsating violet light. The walls were lined with seamless, reflective material, creating an infinite series of reflections like a kaleidoscope. In the center, a single anatomical chair was reclined. It was empty. But what caught my eye was the main mirror directly opposite the chair. It was covered in blemishes, hundreds of them, age spots, deep wrinkles, faint scars, thinning hair, an entire face reflecting back at me, not of the empty chair, but of an incredibly aged, withered person. And it was slowly, subtly fading. It wasn't a flaw in the mirror. It was a dying image. I realized with a jolt of horror, these weren't blemishes. They were the removed imperfections of the client who had just left the chamber. The mirror wasn't reflecting an aging client. It was reflecting the essence of aging itself, extracted from them, leaving them eternally youthful, but leaving their captured age behind, a dying ghost in the glass. Elysian Glow wasn't reversing aging, it was transferring it. A low, guttural gurgle, like a strangled cough, emanated from the mirror. It sounded like an old person struggling to breathe. Rule number 2: if a microphone picks up a voice that isn't present in the room, do not adjust its gain. Any amplification makes it part of the mix, irrevocably. This is from the previous studio script, but it applies to the concept of hearing things not present in the room here too, showing how rules connect across stories. I heard it. A faint whisper, a raspy voice from the fading reflection, crying out a name I didn't recognize, a name full of longing and regret. The mirror pulsed. The fading image seemed to reach out, its spectral hand stretching towards me. I stumbled back, my heart pounding. I closed the door with a clang. Ben jumped, spinning around. "What was that, Clara?" he asked, his voice trembling. I think I saw something," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "The price. I saw the price." We returned to the main staff room. Mrs. Albright was there, polishing a small hand mirror with a velvet cloth. Her face, utterly unlined, seemed to glow under the fluorescent lights. She looked at us, her eyes flat, empty. "Everything all right, children?" she asked, her voice an unnatural monotone. "The mirror in Chamber 3, I began. "It had a degradation." Mrs. Albright smiled, a thin, bloodless smile. "Excellent. The transfer was successful. The client will be very pleased. She stood up, holding the hand mirror to her face. Her reflection was flawless, ageless. Then she turned it towards Ben. He recoiled, gasping. His own fading reflection stared back from the small mirror, now even more transparent. The hand mirror wasn't just a client's item, it was a portable conduit. And Ben's desperate act of defiance had opened him up to its influence. The truth hit me like a splash of ice water. Elysian Glow didn't just transfer aging, it transferred identities. The mirrors weren't just reflective surfaces. They were conduits, traps, and the clients, in their pursuit of eternal youth, were giving up more than just wrinkles. They were giving up their very selves, and the reflections in the mirrors, the fading images, the blemishes, the scars, they were the discarded selves, the forgotten originals. I looked at Mrs. Albright, her unlined face, her empty eyes, her unnervingly smooth skin. She wasn't naturally youthful. She was a perfect, polished shell, a custodian of stolen youth. And Ben, with his fading reflection, was next in line. He was becoming an empty vessel, his image slowly draining away, ready to be filled by the next desperate client's original self. "It's a trap, Ben," I whispered. "They're stealing your reflection. They're stealing you." Mrs. Albright's smile didn't falter. "Nonsense. We simply offer a unique service, a flawless experience, an unblemished existence." Her eyes, flat and dead, looked at Ben. "Young man, it seems your image is deteriorating. We will need to schedule a deep renewal session for you immediately." Ben tried to protest, but his voice came out as a faint gasp, his reflection in the hand mirror now barely visible. His image was almost gone. It was almost 2 a.m., the critical hour. Rule number 6, never, under any circumstances, look directly into your own reflection in any mirror in the clinic between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. Your reflection will not be yours. It will be the price. My mind raced. If Ben's reflection was fading, what did that mean for him? Was his soul being drained? Was he becoming an empty canvas for someone else's discarded image? I couldn't let it happen. I couldn't let another person lose their true self. My own art, my love for the unique flaws of a human face, screamed in protest. I looked at Ben, his eyes filled with a terror that was rapidly losing its spark. He was losing himself. I glanced at the main reception area, which was lined with dozens of mirrors. It was almost 2 a.m., the transfer hour. I had a desperate, reckless idea. If they stole reflections, then I needed to give them something they couldn't process, something too real. "Mrs. Albright," I said, my voice trembling but firm, "what if a reflection isn't perfect?" She paused, her head tilting slightly. "All reflections here are meticulously maintained, child. They achieve perfection." "Not mine," I said. "Mine is broken." I ran, not towards an exit, but towards the main reception area, where the largest, most flawless mirrors gleamed. Ben, now barely more than a translucent shimmer, stumbled after me. Mrs. Albright, gliding silently behind him, her eyes fixed on his fading image. The clock on the wall read 2:02 a.m., the hour of transfer. I stopped before the largest mirror, a vast, seamless expanse of polished glass. I stared into it, not with fear, but with a desperate, defiant resolve. My reflection stared back, tired, anxious, and with a subtle tremor in my right hand. It was my true self, imperfect, flawed, human. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I deliberately, with all the strength of my will, forced my trembling hand to paint, not with a brush, but with my own blood. I ripped a small, sharp piece of chrome from a display stand, cut my palm, and then, using the blood as pigment, I began to draw on the mirror's surface. Not a beautiful image, not a perfect face, but a raw, visceral, imperfect depiction of my face, the one I had lost, with all its flaws, its worries, its tremors. I deliberately made it distorted, ugly, imperfect, a defiant, bloody self-portrait. Mrs. Albright shrieked, not a human sound, but a grating, metallic screech. "No, you'll corrupt the conduit. You'll ruin the transfer." The mirror writhed. My blood, instead of drying, seemed to shimmer, to glow, as if infused with a strange energy. My painted reflection began to pulse, pushing back against the glass. It wasn't fading. It was asserting itself. A raw, imperfect, bloody image filled with the chaotic energy of my defiance. Ben, his reflection almost gone, looked at the mirror, and for the first time, a spark of clarity returned to his eyes. He saw not the perfect stolen youth, but the horrifying truth of a flawed, defiant self. The clinic shrieked again, a chorus of grating metallic sounds. The lights flickered violently. The mirrors across the entire reception area began to crack, thin lines spreading like spiderwebs across their pristine surfaces. The illusion was breaking. My imperfect reflection was creating a chaotic feedback loop, an unprocessable error for the clinic's insidious mechanism. Mrs. Albright lunged for me, her perfect, unlined face contorted in a mask of inhuman rage. She was fast, unnaturally so. Her hands, smooth and pale, reached for my face, her fingers like polished talons. But I was faster, and I had a plan. My raw, defiant self-portrait was almost complete. It was crude, it was ugly, it was real. As Mrs. Albright reached me, I grabbed a discarded cleaning bottle full of a powerful corrosive solvent. I splashed it directly onto the bloody painted image of my face on the mirror. The mirror screamed, not the glass, the reflection. The caustic liquid hit my blood-painted image, and the perfect polished surface of the mirror began to dissolve, to melt, to flesh. It wasn't just glass, it was a membrane, a skin, and my imperfect, defiant self-portrait was eating it alive. Mrs. Albright recoiled, screaming, her face melting and reforming in the distorted reflections of the cracking mirrors. She wasn't human. She was a composite, a vessel. Her skin peeled back, revealing layers of perfect stolen youth beneath, each one dissolving into a sickening green goo. She was made of the very illusions she peddled. The entire wall of mirrors exploded outwards, showering the reception area with millions of shards of glass. Not just glass, but shimmering fragments of other people's discarded reflections. 1,000 eyes, 1,000 smiles, 1,000 forgotten imperfections. I lay on the floor, covered in glass shards, blood, and the acrid smell of ozone and melting plastic. The clinic was in ruins, the perfect illusion shattered. Ben, his reflection returned to full clarity, but now scarred by the experience, lay nearby, dazed but alive. Mrs. Albright was gone, dissolved into the chaos she had created. The source of the clinic's sinister power, the ability to steal and transfer reflections, was broken. For now, the authorities came. Police, paramedics, a hazmat team. They found me and Ben amidst the wreckage, babbling about mirrors and reflections and stolen youth. They dismissed it as a gas leak, a structural collapse, a shared hallucination brought on by trauma. Ben, in his shaken state, corroborated their story. He had seen the terror, but not the deeper truth. He simply said, "The mirrors exploded." But I knew. I escaped Elysian Glow, but not without a mark. My right hand, the one that used to tremble, was now perfectly steady. My tremors were gone. A miracle, the doctors called it, a spontaneous remission. But I knew the truth. When I drew my defiant self-portrait with my own blood, when I asserted my flawed, imperfect reality, I had not just shattered the clinic's illusion, I had asserted my will over its magic. My tremors, those imperfections that once defined my artistic failure, had been absorbed by the very mirrors I destroyed. They were the blemishes the clinic could not process. I can paint again. My hands are steady, precise. My art is no longer about perfection, but about authenticity. I paint faces, not idealized, but raw, real, with all their beautiful imperfections. I paint the lines of wisdom, the scars of survival, the stories etched around the eyes. I paint the reflections I now see, the true selves beneath the flawless facades. But there is a new mark. When I look in the mirror, my reflection is still mine, but my eyes are different. They hold a flicker of the cold hunger I saw in Mrs. Albright's, a faint, almost imperceptible sheen of polished chrome, a reminder of what I saw, what I fought, and what I still carry. I am a survivor, but a changed one. I saw the price of perfection, and I paid a different one. Elysian Glow Aesthetics was shut down, officially due to a catastrophic structural failure. The building was condemned, razed to the ground. No one ever knew its true purpose or the horror it contained. But the pursuit of eternal youth continues in other clinics, with other promises, in other reflections. Ben, traumatized but whole, moved away, his reflection once again firmly attached to his body. He never looked at a mirror the same way again. He understood, perhaps instinctively, the danger of image, the fragility of self. My art flourishes. I exhibit in galleries, my paintings praised for their raw honesty, their profound depth. I paint the beauty of imperfection, the strength in vulnerability. I paint faces that tell stories, not just show a surface. I paint the faces I saw in the deep renewal mirrors, the discarded selves, giving them back their truth. Sometimes late at night, when the city is quiet, I find myself staring into a mirror, my steady hand, my artistic eye, my new unsettling gaze. I see the world with a new clarity, a heightened awareness of the illusions people chase, the prices they are willing to pay for a flawless facade. My reflections are mine, but I know what lies beneath the surface. I know what the pursuit of perfect beauty can cost, and I paint the warning for those who still seek it, hoping my art can be a mirror that reflects the truth, not just the desired illusion. If you seek external perfection or chase an unblemished image, pay close attention to the rules of your transformation. Because some places don't just enhance your beauty, they redefine your very being, turning your reflection into a trap. And the price of eternal youth can be your true self. But beauty clinics aren't the only places with strange rules that guard terrifying truths. Sometimes, the most dangerous instructions come from a menu served in the dead of night. Imagine a sophisticated 24-hour restaurant that has a secret shift after midnight, where the clients and the menu change drastically. Never serve the dish of the day to the customer at table 7. He never orders the same, because some appetites are far more ancient and insatiable than any chef could imagine, and the ingredients are not always from this world. Subscribe to Midnight Rules and hit that notification bell for more bone-chilling tales of twisted rules that could save your life or cost you everything you hold dear. Next week, we dine in the dark with the Midnight Bistro, Rules for the Secret Menu.